So, yes. So when I started, I came from an office. I'm not going to say where I worked before because it's subject to ridicule from everybody. So, dating service. I'm sorry, I have to admit it every time. But everything that everybody did was, and I worked there for 10 years. It was like my first actual job. So I worked there 10 years. I started in 2002, but in my other office, it was all girls except for our boss. It was a guy. But it was all women, and we all had cubicles or our own offices. And so everybody in there it was appointment setting, and it was just telemarketing and things like that. It was quiet. There was elevator music playing in the background. It was chill all the time. Everybody was polite to each other. And if somebody didn't get along with somebody else, you did what you just close your door, or just whatever. But it was a different environment. So when I came over to dispatch, and when I started working there, what was it? Culture shock, because there's nowhere to run away when you're in dispatch, and when that starts happening, it's a 100% different culture, but it's so different in the way people talk to each other. So everybody said when I started, the people that survive here and thrive here are type A personalities, and that scared me to death because I don't feel like I'm a type A personality at all. I was like, I don't have thick skin, I'm not overly competitive, I'm not very aggressive, I'm not very ambitious, so I don't see how I'm ever going to make it here. I would cry a lot on my way home. If somebody talked to me sharply or harshly, I was like, rude, or directed me, told me to do something. I mean, it was very hard for me. Those first probably 3 years actually were very hard. Now I think, I know I've developed thick skin, but I still don't think I'm type A. Although, funny, my children said when I was talking to my 13-year-old, he goes, what's a type A personality, Mom? And I told him all those things, and he goes, yeah, you're definitely a type A personality. And I was like, what? So I don't see that in myself, but that's the way that people talk to each other is, to me, that's the biggest culture, and what yours looks like. So, what are you doing to make it better? Okay. When you look in the mirror, do you think you see yourself as you actually are? When you look in the mirror, do you think that you see yourself as you actually are? So, for instance, do you see yourself as calm and reassuring and in charge? And do you think that other people see you that way when you are talking to them? Or do you think you see yourself as a hothead and crazy, and then everybody's like, you never come off that way to me. You seem very chill. So, it's just a good reflection to have, because I actually worked with one of the supervisors at our job. She's like, I'm so sorry, that email came off so bitchy. I did not mean to make it like that. And I'm like, that was the nicest email I've gotten all year. Are you serious right now? So I don't see that. She's like, I was so stressed out. I'm like, she's so calm, you know what I'm talking about. She never goes up here. She's always here. So, so it's just interesting to see that. If you think about it, how do you think other people see you? It's a pretty big deal. So, because culture in dispatch is never going to change, it's always going to be very direct. It is the difference between customer service at the dating service was much different than customer service in 911. So, where the customer was always right at the dating service, at 911, it was, I'm never going to ask somebody if they want to give CPR instructions to their loved one that's dying. I'm going to tell them what to do. And it's not, customer service doesn't mean rude, but it means being direct, giving somebody direction, being clear, and having a control that they can respond to and understand and listen to. And so that goes the same in the dispatch center. So that's, you talk to callers like that. Hopefully that's how we all give customer service to the callers. But the way we talk to each other too. And that can make all the difference in the culture. Direct is one thing. How we deliver messages, I think, is very important too. So, I want to show you some of these behaviors and ask you if these look familiar to you. Yellers, angry people, micromanagers, all of those things. So you can have your passive aggressive behaviors, when somebody's trying to get you to do something, but you'll look over at them and you see they roll their eyes because you haven't done it yet, or they sigh, or they slam their desk because you haven't done it, or they're irritated, trainer, supervisor, whatever, people talking to each other. Have you called the gas company yet? I mean, anything like that. Those are very unproductive, counterproductive, is that the word I'm looking for? Counterproductive ways of delivering a message. Saying to somebody, I'm gonna need you to call the police department, make sure they're going. That's a very direct way to say it. I don't have to say please or thank you, we're in a dispatch. I feel like, if there's time, could you please get me a cheeseburger when you're at McDonald's? Okay, yeah, I guess that's an appropriate time. But if we're in the dispatch center, we expect a certain level of just not telling, but directing somebody what to do. But these kind of things, that's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. And you should not ever be expected to take that. Or do you see these types of things in your dispatch center? Those are people putting a puzzle together.
Thank you guys for doing that to us.
I just think it's really cool. It took my shift when we were 2 years ago, was it on Christmas time, we were putting a puzzle together, and we were not getting far on it at all. And one of our battalion chiefs comes walking in to say, Merry Christmas, guys. And he's like, hey, that piece goes over there. He just tells us where these things are going. He just sits there and stares at it. And he's like, yeah, this goes here. And we're like, get out of here. Get out of here. It was just pretty funny.
Our dispatchers actually have puzzles that they work on.
Oh, that's
We do
cool.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, but we did.
Yeah. It's a great team building thing. We put a big fire guide together, or fire outfit together one time, so it was pretty neat.
Try to glue that thing.
Yeah.
Hurry on. There it goes.
Okay, well, we're not gonna practice
done
anymore than
dancing.
dance. I will, let me do it. No, I don't. So then I just happen to like the challenge yourself to be the person you'd like to see in others, and challenge yourself to be the person that you would like others to see. Because I think that that's pretty important in the positive work environment. So right now, do you guys have any discussion points on any of this stuff so far? Strategies, culture.
Oh, you want to hear we got different management, different supervisors, and they worked toward a common goal of team building and eliminating the bully types.
How do they do that? I mean, you literally
Training.
eliminating them?
We had a department-wide training years back that dealt with the bullying. Like, it was department-wide training, so it was kind of an internal customer service toward others. And I think that helped, and then it helped people, like, you don't have to be this way just because you've always been this way. And people coming in, you don't have to be this way just because they're being this way. You know.
Yeah.
They moved on. Once the culture changed, the people who needed to moved on.
So they decided not to change with it, they just decided to go?
Right.
Okay. That's very
And then the
interesting.
people coming in, we got to encourage that. Friend, team building, we're in this together, let's build each other up instead of tear each other down kind of outlook.
That's pretty cool.
I was just gonna say, I've been there 17 years, and I remember coming into it, there were so many people who we would have not lost if we didn't have the culture
Yeah.
that we had back then. And just good people. And I can't hardly believe I made it through all of it.
Same.
Okay, so you know where I'm coming from with that. So I was super psyched when we got this turnaround. Like, it was like, finally, this is where we should have been all along.
It's funny you say that. When we were listening to the lady this morning talking about the, who's taking care of you,
Yeah,
I thought the same thing.
yeah.
I was like, it's too bad that wasn't around even 20, 25 years ago, or it's been through, because we've probably lost a lot of good people because of that. Like,
Yeah.
and turnover wouldn't be so high.
I will say that I also think it's really important for supervisors to notice, like, especially like on a certain particular shift, if their shift mates aren't working well together and the environment's not good. I will say that we just had a sit-down conversation on our shift a couple days ago because the supervisor was like, you guys don't even work together really anymore. And the communication is lost, and I just think that was really nice because we got to sit down and talk to everybody about it, and we got to talk to each other and change things and the way that things were handled, so.
That's great supervision.
Mhm.
I mean, to have
Yeah.
that conversation, to recognize it, and then have that conversation, because that's a hard conversation to have.
Absolutely.
Because people, that's like real talk. It's
Yeah.
not just, whatever talk that you have all day long with people, which isn't bad either, as long as it's pushing forward.
We did that with all of our shifts.
I think it was beneficial for sure. Because then everybody got to get out, well, this is why I think that we're not working well together, and these are the things that we can do to change that, to make the environment more, your work environment
Yeah.
more team-based, I guess.
See, in our shift started, since we work every other weekend, it's a every other Saturday bitch fest, basically.
Anybody else see that? Has anybody else seen that done?
Mark it on the calendar.
That's good stuff.
It's,
No, that's a
you know,
good
like
thing.
an hour in the afternoon, and you can bitch about field units, you can bitch about, whatever you wanna bitch about, but it all stays with the crew, and then,
We used to do
Designated
that.
shifts time.
It's
Yeah.
every day for us.
yeah, and then
We used to,
it's an
we used
hour
to do
and
it
it's
with Little
done.
Debbie Tuesday.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
We took turns bringing a box of Little Debbie, and that was, everybody
Yeah.
got a Little Debbie, and we bitched.
If you do that again, let me know when it's zebra cake day. I would like to be there.
But with us, we're coming out of a pretty crappy time.
Okay.
We were worried about this year because with the remodel, and now we've got the captain shuffle, a lot of change. But we've been able to maintain, there's peaks and valleys.
Yes.
We were very much in a valley. But one of the things we did is implement a monthly shift meeting. Actually, it's me that I create a Google slide, PowerPoint thing, so that all the shifts are being taught the same, being trained on the
Standard.
same, given the same information. And then it's that opportunity every month where as a shift, they can sit down and talk about what's going on and
That's a huge deal because one of the biggest things when you're talking about these things is usually consistency. And when
Right.
you usually hear negative talk,
yeah,
it's usually about
and with as much
consistency.
overtime as we've got going on, they're working all shifts at all times. So, yeah, our biggest issue was, well, this supervisor told me to do it this way, and now you're telling me to do it that way. And so we made that more consistent and kind of implemented a little tricks to address the negativity issue. And at least for me personally, I found getting to know your people and find out what they love. What are they passionate about? And I have one, for example, that's all about her dogs. Loves her dogs, takes her dogs everywhere, talks about her dogs every night. So as we're sitting there and she's complaining about whatever it is she's complaining about, the change in technology or whatever it is, I'll look at her and say, hey, how's Stella doing?
Perfect redirect.
Well, yeah, totally redirect her. And as she's talking about this thing that she loves most in the world, suddenly she's smiling and
Yes.
all goes right back up. And
It's amazing because it's telling somebody that I'm sorry, but you're putting a lot of negative vibe on
Right.
me and I get plenty of it my way and it's very heavy. So let's talk about something else.
yeah, I'll give them a minute to get it off, whatever,
Yes.
blow off a little bit of steam. But hey, how's that new baby?
Oh, and everybody wants to talk about
Whatever
baby.
it is. And that helped. Huge difference.
Very cool.
In there. But like I said, we moved out to your place for 6 months, and that was a little, coming in, we felt like the redheaded stepchild a little bit,
Just a little bit to what you're talking, the PD came into our centers because we have the big, it's a county
They're our
conservation
secondary,
center.
so.
So they came there and everything was getting remodeled, so just in our county.
So we were all really nervous and kind of freaking out over that, and then it was time to go home, and we didn't want to.
I know, we missed it.
We really didn't. We had a great time out there, and then we get to our new place, and there's glitches and bugs with all the new stuff, and that's frustrating. And then, some new things were implemented, and that was frustrating. And then it finally starts leveling off, and now we have a new captain. So it's just, so we've all kind of been very cognitive, very aware, and that we've been very lucky. It hasn't dipped too much, I don't think.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
We actually started a morale team when our morale was low.
Okay.
So several years ago, we were extremely short staffed, working about 70 hours a week. And several of us noticed how poor the morale was overall. And we decided we needed to do something about it. So we created what's called a morale team for the department. And we actually put our most negative person on the team with us. And got her buy-in on the team. So now every single month, a different shift is in charge of the morale for the month. And so they will decorate the center and come up with an activity for the month.
That's
We put up a
great.
morale board on the hall that everybody walks by. Then if you went to the morale, then Amber talked some about some of the stuff that we did in there. So you walk by and we put up the good job that people did, and we post those up there and some activities. We do little kudos. So if somebody was just nice to you, maybe worked the shift for you, put a little thing on their locker. This month we're doing a trick or treat. So each shift has a different, a bat, a pumpkin or whatever, and on the wall. And so each day they work, they pull that off, and they get a surprise on the back. They don't have any idea what they're gonna do. So some of them are just trivia or Mad Libs, but some of them are a minute to win it style games, to wrap each other up as a mummy for their shifts, and team building games.
I think that is so cool.
Yeah.
That's an excellent idea.
And
I
it
think
really
it is.
builds morale up, and it's something you can do on your own. That's pretty easy. So.
I just
That is
guess
absolutely
the first
amazing.
1 inch of snow contest.
Is that what you say?
Guess the first 1 inch of snow.
Okay.
Date and time.
Hey, it's supposed to be bad winter too, so I think.
We
that's-
also did
that's cool.
simple things we put 3 jars out with funny radio traffic, funny quotes, and once a quarter we stick those in and have people vote for their favorite one.
I love that.
It's pretty simple, and it
Yeah.
doesn't cost hardly anything.
Yeah.
And it's really cheap. So.
Because it's always not a cost, always good to know. Yes.
I'm just curious what different agencies do to include your trainees in this.
Oh.
We've lost several trainees who feel like they're not part of things.
Yeah.
And they give up because they just feel like it's going to take forever before they're part of what's
We did
going on.
too. We did, and
I can speak to that kind of from some experience. There was probably, and I'm from the police agency, and probably 3-4 years ago, we were having the exact same issue. We got to the point where our veteran dispatchers would just flat out say, I'm not even gonna bother learning this person's name
Right.
until they're signed off. Because
We've been at that
you
place too.
get to that point where,
Absolutely.
and
We've had so many come through.
Sure, and, so we actually sat everybody down and made a conscious decision. We said, look, we need to change the way we treat these people. We need to make a conscious effort to say, yes, they're brand new and they're learning, but we want them to stay. We want them to.
You can't eat your,
Exactly.
To support them, to build them up.
Right,
To
and
get
so,
them to where they
and
need
and
to
so
be.
that was a conscious decision to include them in activities and, learn their name was, it's a huge thing. It was something, it's very, from a trainee's perspective, to come in and say, hey, the only person who even talks to me in here is my CTO.
Or there's the ones where the veteran dispatchers where they are sat with a trainee during observation or during class, and all they do is badmouth having to sit with trainees.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the things we addressed when we were working toward being in a better place,
Mhm.
is how we treat the people coming in.
Right, and that's what we had to do.
Yeah.
We had to just flat out say it, so people be like, look, we are not treating people right.
Mhm.
And we need to change this.
Backlash did you get though from some of the people that have been there a long time that were like, I'm not,
Well, you're not gonna have everybody convert.
sure.
Yeah, it's, you've always got people that are gonna resist that kind of change. And I think in a situation like this, from experience, I actually had somebody that once told me, if you wanna affect change, you don't have to change the leaders, you have to change the influencers. So your influencers on
I
the
think they have to realize too, I mean, the more they keep shoving trainees out the door, the longer it takes to get those seats filled, and the more
That's-
overtime they're gonna have to work, the more
that's just it.
stress they're gonna be, so which way do you want it, guys?
Providing the reasoning behind treating them appropriately. Yeah.
Let's get the seats filled and get them
Our
working.
staff are being lip service to that, but they just aren't communicating in a way that really lets trainees feel like that.
Some of our morale activities will help all that too, because they get included in those team
Yeah.
building activities. We do things too, like a snack box. All our dispatchers get like a little shoe box they get to decorate. So when our new trainees come in, we ask them what kind of snacks they like, and we give them a fill box and say, welcome to our dispatch center. We're glad to have you, and fill up the box for them.
That's a great strategy. We learned, I mean, it's honestly like what Josh was talking about, like 4 years ago, I think is when we started talking real big about onboarding and doing everything that the books told us to do, because that's a lot of our direction that we get, is that we want to do things that are, and so onboarding up to even getting them a shirt. Before, you don't get a shirt until you're signed off of training. You don't get to wear a uniform until you're signed off of training. And so we found that was like an isolator, so, you know.
We started doing, on like the very first day of employment, we'd buy a lunch, and we'd invite, and especially like our director, medical director, some of the admin people that are behind the scenes. I mean, our medical director, for a time there, he was going, I don't even know who this person is. You'd have somebody who didn't make it through training, and they'd be like, oh, this person's been on the board. You'd be like, who's that? I don't know who that was. So then we started saying, hey, let's as part of the onboarding, let's try and make them feel welcome and get them to know people. And
You know what helped us a lot is and it was kind of a residual of this, it wasn't a goal at the time, is we changed our training program to where instead of spending 8 hours a shift training, we minimized it, started just phones. So they learn just phones, they get signed off on phones, now they're gonna go to radio. So they train 4 hours on the radio, but then they're working the rest of the shift on phones. They're part of that team. They're not.
Because
not
they're
a
smart.
trainee,
Yeah.
we're not a program.
Then they get signed off on the primary radio, they train 4 hours on the information radio, and work the rest of the shift as either primary or radio. So,
That's great.
and that's what I found was that newbie stuff lesson, the FNG jokes kind of went away a little bit. Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Well, and we always say,
What's FNG?
I don't want to say it. Because I can just say
Okay.
yes. I don't think I'm supposed to say that.
Funny, yeah.
But hey,
But, and we don't, it's funny because we'll be sitting there looking at staffing and we'll say, oh, Chris, she's in training, she doesn't count.
Right.
And we have to,
Oh, we said,
And
they used
then
to
we
say
start
that.
laughing because we're like, that sounds so horrible.
Yes. Oh, they used to say it. She's
Yeah.
not a real
Still
person.
slips in there.
Well, and that was, we had
That's not a real person.
a male dispatcher get out of training last year. And he was coming up on it, he was about to be released. He gets released that day, we buy him dinner, and we're like, yay, you're a real boy.
That's not familiar.
That way something like that in training. Real dispatcher.
I just, I know we're coming up on 3 o'clock. I'm sorry. I love this conversation. But if anybody walked away with any strategies today, I will feel like this was successful. I'm serious. I missed half of the stuff that were on my note cards, but I loved the participation and loved hearing that stuff because that's helpful to me. These are just some people in my dispatch center. And look at their shirts, by the way. How cool is that? Look how happy they look. I think that is like the coolest picture. I was going through pictures and I thought that was the coolest picture.
Did you give them chocolate or what?
They don't, yeah, I was gonna say, they don't know I'm using it. By the way, don't tell them I use this because I forgot to tell them.
I'm telling her.
Yeah.
Come on.
Take a picture of it, Chris.
That was close. Okay, so does anybody want to practice the disco fever dance with me?
I do.
You do?
I absolutely do.
Cue the music.
I need dance moves.
Oh, you You ready?
You have to help me.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
I have to cue the music.
Hey, Chris can do it.
I'll cue the music.
Yeah, she's got it. She's got it. Come on, do the disco move.
I'll do it.
Do it right there. Please do it with me. You can floss, that's fine. But I'm a subscriber. Do you got it cute, Chris? Are we ready? We gotta wait till.
Okay, tell me how to.
What do I start at? Okay. We start off with
Chris, do you know how to
and go.
No.
1, 2, 1, 2. Oh.
I
And then
know,
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we go again. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then just line across, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Nice.
I don't even know how to slide. One more time, okay.
And go. And around.
There we go.
2, 4, 5. Nicely. You're awesome.
Thank you.
You guys, thank you so much for sticking around. I know you're ready to go home, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My starting date was October 21st,
Shush it. What year?
99.
99, 3 years before me.
Really?
October 21st, 2002. I'll never forget that date.
Oh, me too.
That is so, you
Your
know what?
starting
We're like
is
sisters.
actually dates.
Yes.
A coincidence.
17 years for you. What day?
Okay, it's either June or July. I know it's a Jane month in the summer.
Oh.
June.
You don't remember your starting date?
It's June or July.
Hey, guys.
I think it's July
If
17th.
anybody wants my business card for any reason, you want to talk to me anything, then let me know and I will absolutely no. Just kidding. For anything, I will be happy to pass along. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Just so you know, this is one of the best supervisors in the world.
Absolutely.
You are so sweet. Thank you very much. You guys, I totally appreciate it.
I want to give you a hug.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You have a lot of the same philosophies I really like.
I'm telling you, you read my notebook. See you later. I appreciate it.
The training class that made like I love it.
Oh,
That's
yay!
one of them.
Oh, that is the nicest thing I've ever heard.
I'm so glad I got to meet you. I'll take one of your cards too.
Oh, well, please. Yes, yes, yes.
Great class.
I guess there's another one.
Great.
Oh, you did? Hey,
Yeah.
go ahead, take it. Listen, there's one. All right, look at these two. Look at these two. You guys deserve it. Thank you so much for helping me out with this. Hey, you did great. I will see you guys. I'll see you first thing in the morning at work, by the way.
Not me, I won't be in until 7 p.m.
Okay.
You see me.
Okay, you're
Josh wants a picture.
Hey, Kate, can I get a picture
Yeah.
real quick, just the three of them?
Yes.
See you right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Is there going to be, I wonder if that's her lap, if that's her lap, is that her lap?
Yes? Perfect. Leave it. Oh, sorry. Listen, I was dancing, you know. Hey, Josh.
Yes.
I was supposed to ask you. You guys, thank you.
Hey.
Thanks, Catherine.
You did a great job.
I forgot to turn this off.